We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot, season number 4, episode number 22. Hope you guys have had a good week. We had the holiday on Monday for some of you guys sitting back home relaxing. Some of us had to go ahead and still regularly schedule programming. And first and foremost, man, I want to congratulate Ohio State University for winning the national championship in the first incarnation of the college football playoff, as they was able to knock off Notre Dame. Man, was that exciting game. I thought that Ohio State was about to roll Notre Dame, but Notre Dame, they was able to come and fight back. And so first and foremost, man, my hat goes off to Marcus Freeman. He did an outstanding job with the ball club. You know, I had buried them after they lost to Northern Illinois University early part of the year. I didn't think that they had a chance to even get into the college football playoffs. Boy, did I get that wrong. They had an outstanding year. They knocked off Georgia, moved on, trekked through, got all the way to the finals. They, knocked off Oregon as well on their path to get to the championship game. And they fell up a little short, man, but I think the future is bright in Notre Dame for Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I do think that something that I learned in regard to this game is that he's a good ball coach, and they did an outstanding job of kind of pairing up, with the best in college football, but they fell up a little short. And I just think that on their end is that they just got to up the recruiting efforts, man, and bring in a couple more 5 stars, man. And Notre Dame, they'll be back into the picture next season. For Ohio State, man, and Ryan Day, congratulations once again goes out to them. Ryan Day, his head was on the guillotine. They was about to drop the blade after they lost to Michigan, or what they call the school up north. And they was able to get through, man. They had 2 losses on the season, but they was able to get through. And like I said, I thought that they was going to roll Notre Dame in this football game. They went up 31-7. I thought it was about to be a wrap. This team has a lot of talent, man. A lot of talent. Henderson out the backfield, Smith wide receiver, Judkins, he did an outstanding job, and these guys will definitely be playing on Sunday at some point for one of your favorite NFL teams. So congratulations to them. We'll see what they do moving forward. This is the second year in a row that the Big Ten, my part of the country that I grew up in, won the national championship with Michigan last year. And a lot of people have questioned, hey, is the Big Ten knocked off SEC out of the perch of dominance in college football? And I think the answer to that question is the name, image, and likeness. That is a game changer across the board. I think that at this point now, the Alabamas of the world and just the Georgias of the world, you can't stockpile talent anymore. You can have a 5-star guy starting, but that guy behind him, he outie 5,000. So I think that we've seen just a change. I think it's opened up the door for parity across college football as a whole. And so it's good to see, even though, I'm a native of Big Ten country, but, I live in the SEC country. So, they definitely have to pick up the pieces. I think they'll be back. They'll be a force to reckon with again coming up in the future. But, once again, man, congratulations to Ohio State University, man, bringing home the national championship, their first national championship in 11 years. Last one they won was 2014. So congratulations to them. Also, too, we gonna talk some NFL, man. NFL playoffs, man. Some outstanding games. Just a little bit more insight as we move along to the NFC and the AFC championship game. On that note, I got special guests falling through once again. East Halim, Mr. Taylor Street from the Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast. You can check them boys out on YouTube, 5box2300. Also, too, on Spreaker. He gonna come through, man, and break down, say, the games that we saw this weekend in the NFL. So that's definitely going to be a treat. And, my Chicago Bears, as you heard in the last episode, man, we hired a coach in Ben Johnson. The Bears are trying to move forward. Caleb Williams and company, man, to push the Bears back into the playoff picture, especially in that NFC North, which is one of the most toughest divisions in the NFL this past season. Didn't work out in the playoffs, though, man, which was crazy. But, with that being said, I'm excited for the hire. I think it was a good move for the Chicago Bears, and it shows that the Bears and Ryan Poles, they mean business. So definitely congrats on that. We got a few other coaching vacancies still out there. Was Jacksonville, the Jets, Word on the streets is the Jets might be moving in on Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, to be their next head football coach. Also, we got vacancies down in New Orleans. We got vacancy out there in Las Vegas for the Raiders. And Tom Brady in the fold, try to see what they're going to do with their next head coach situation out there. So, that thing is wide open, man, across the NFL on the coaching standpoint. Also, too, speaking of coaches, and this is something that is very, very interesting for me. And NFL, back in 2003, they came up with the ROONEY Rule, named after the great owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, to bring in minority candidates, 2 in-person candidates for each coaching job that's out there. And in 2003, we had 3 NFL head coaches. You want to take a wild guess how many NFL head coaches we got now that are African American? Yep, that same number is 3 people. And so I think that the ROONEY Rule is a mockery. Now, I'm one to believe that the best man get the job, whether the color or creed. I just think that at the end of the day, it's up to the organization to make the right decision. And I think that decision should be made on a person's accomplishments and skills. And so, but for me, you still got 3, African American or minority head coaches. I put that out there as well. Just still sitting at 3. I don't think that's a lot of progress, especially when you're talking about 32 teams in the NFL. I mean, that's a very small percentage. And so I think that the ROONEY Rule, man, it's been a mockery. And I've seen this, with my own Chicago Bears and bringing in Eddie George and, Ron Rivera got an in-person interview. So they check those boxes. And I can't knock the potential candidates for going in, sitting down, talking to ball clubs, because at the end of the day, they're not going to really bring you in unless they see you potentially at one point being an NFL coach. But at the end of the day, man, is that you don't really want to, waste people's time. A lot of times these NFL teams already have the guy that they want to go with moving forward to lead the ship. And so that's just an interesting thing, man. But for me, you can only have 3 minority coaches in the National Football League, and it's 32 teams in the league, and it's a league that has a good fraction size of minorities that play the sport. I think that number should be up just a little bit. So I think that's an interesting thing that I was kind of taking a look at so far. It may be 4 with Aaron Glenn. Word on the street is he probably get that job in New York. So we'll definitely add another head coach to that pool of coaches in the league. And then also, too, just on the NBA front, there's a few interesting things, man. I was checking out the game between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics the other day, and the Boston Celtics gave the Golden State Warriors that nice little 40-piece. Man, was that crazy. And, Steph Curry a couple weeks ago, about a week or so ago, he said that it may not be in the best interest of the team to make what I call trades to try to keep them competitive. And Steph Curry, man, is a good guy. He's good for the NBA game. Just a good family guy. Nothing but love and respect for Steph Curry. 4-time NBA champion. First ballot Hall of Famer. The greatest shooter in NBA history without question. And so I thought that was interesting that he came out and said with those particular statements in regards, because I think at the end of the day, it's time for Golden State, man, to hit the reset button. Now, I'm not one of those to say to trade Steph Curry because, I seen a Dirk Nowitzki. I seen Kobe Bryant, play 20 plus years with their organizations. And to me, that still means something, man. That just shows the commitment between the organization and the player itself. So, I like that situation as far as, keep your guy in place. But at the end of the day, man, Golden State, they got to blow this thing up. And I was very critical. If you're an OG of the show, I mentioned that I thought it was a mistake for them to bring back Draymond Green. I thought they should have just let him hit the free agency market and just try to kind of maneuver within the salary cap to try to bring in guys that are a little bit younger and guys that are a little bit more productive. Also, too, with Klay Thompson moving on to Dallas, that was a sour situation. And so Mike Dunleavy Jr., man, he got his hands full. I'm just not sure what direction this organization is going to go. We'll see what that thing do, moving forward, safe for them. And also, too, man, I got a special shout out, man. A special shout out on the NBA front. I know I'm critical of organizations. If you're first time listening, that's how we get down, man. Straight talking, no chasing. I appreciate the check-in also. But I just think at the end of the day, I got to tip my hat, man, to the Sacramento Kings and bringing in Doug Christie. They fired Mike Brown about a month or so ago. And the Sacramento Kings have been playing some good basketball, man. Doug Christie, I believe they won 9 out of their last 10 games. He's a former NBA player. Those who, go back a little bit. And Doug was a scrappy type of guy, and he's a scrappy type of coach. Got into it with Steve Kerr, about a week or so ago, which I thought was funny and interesting to say the least. But this man has done an outstanding job with Sacramento. This has been a team that, to me, just watching them over the last couple of years, they made the playoffs. They fell short of the playoffs last year. And so I just think that for them, they got to get their defense together. And I think Doug Christie brings kind of toughness. He was a good defensive player when he played in the NBA. And I think he's bringing that same type of swag out to Sacramento. So shout out to him, man, because, he's done a real good job, man, out there in Sacktown, man. But with that being said, man, coming up, I got my man Falling Through E from the Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast on the check-in, man, as we talk about the NFL playoffs and what we've seen so far as we move forward to the AFC and the NFC championship games. I appreciate all the love and the feedback. I appreciate your ear. We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. The NFL playoffs, we just had the divisional rounds as we're moving forward, getting closer to the Super Bowl. Got the conference championship games coming up, say, next week. Definitely was an exciting weekend across the National Football League with 4 prime matchups as we're now down to the Final Four in the conference championships. And I got a familiar voice coming through on the check-in, man, to break down what occurred in these divisional playoff games, man. I got my man E. Salim, Mr. Taylor Street from Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast, Falling Through. What's going down, sir?
Hey, what's up, my brother? Man? Glad to be on here, man. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. It's just give up these Jews, and I know how you get down. So, man, I'm always excited. I'm ready to go, man. It's a wonderful playoffs weekend. So I'm charged up, man. I'm charged.
Yeah, man, we getting close, man. We getting close. Like I said, we got the AFC and the NFC championship game coming up, say, next weekend. But, man, we're going to start off with the champs, man. The champs who got the belt right now, 2-time defending champs. The Kansas City Chiefs, as they took on the Houston Texans. The Chiefs, they had a week off with the bye. They really had 2 weeks off because the last regular season game was a practice squad game. Nobody played. And so coming in, they pretty much had 2 weeks off. You had Taylor Swift. You had Caitlin Clark. You just had the whole situation out there in Arrowhead as the Chiefs was able to win this football game 23-14. Man, in my eyes, man, the Chiefs, they veterans, man, so they do what they had to do. There's a little bit of controversy in this game with the roughing the passer calls on Patrick Mahomes. But at the end of the day, man, the veteran team was able to win out this game. What was your thoughts, man, on that Chiefs and Texans clip, man?
Very, very, very interesting game, I shall say. One thing I can say, and to this concern, is that the Chiefs are relentless. I'm just don't call it how I see it. Despite, I know a lot of people have a lot of controversial talk about, the refs and whatnot. A lot of complaining about, even myself, I thought it was a lot of questionable situations that has been transpiring. But what I will say is that, despite all of that, man, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce just find a way to get in that end zone and find a way to get open, or find a way to, find out those little areas where you can't do nothing about it, and you pretty much got to play perfect. And I feel like Houston just let the refs get into their head way too much, because even despite all of those plays, they had several opportunities to make things happen. You can't miss an extra point, B. You just can't do that, So kudos to the Chiefs, man. I mean, they going for the taking. They're going for record breakers. I'm not gonna take the refs. I'm not gonna say the refs handed them the game, because they still won the game. 23-12, or I think. Oh yeah, no, actually it was 23-14, because that's why everybody was complaining about the obviously the spread was 9.5 at the end of the game, and then these guys decided to run backwards and get the 2-point conversion to make everybody lose money right there. So that's a whole nother story for another day. But overall, man, you really got to come to beat the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? And I just got to give them their kudos for making it to what is this thing? What 7 straight AFC championships? So, man, I mean, it's only right, man. And to also, it's for the fans. You know, they need the Chiefs to be in that position for you know, just for views and all that type of stuff. So that's my take on the Chiefs.
Yeah, man, and I think that it's something that you mentioned, man, that you nailed. And I just think that D'Amico Ryans, the head coach, he's done an outstanding job in his first 2 years down there in Houston. I mean, my hat goes off to the man. When Deshaun Watson got up out of there with that whole situation, Houston was left for dead. They read up with C.J. Stroud. They brought in D'Amico Ryans, obviously. He's done an outstanding job. Shout out to Will Anderson on the defensive end. But you nailed it. And it was that mentally, and you see this with young ball clubs, man. Mentally, when you come in the game just thinking that the refs are going to job you, then you already lost half the battle. Now, the 2 calls in question, you know, with Patrick Mahomes, I mean, to me, you know, I mean, they're going to win it out, they're going to throw the flag. But I don't think that was the end-all, be-all of the ball game. I just think at the end of the day, Houston's offense got stagnant, especially in the second half of the football game. And with the Chiefs and with champs, you got to knock the champ out, man. You're not going to get a decision. Everybody know that. You got to be able to knock out, no different than when Cincinnati came up in Arrowhead a couple years ago and Joe Burrow. And, you know, he just, he took it outside with Patrick Mahomes. 5 steps and draw. And so at the end of the day, to beat Mahomes, you got to be on that mode. If not, you're going to be at home with everybody else. As the Chiefs, they're able to move on to their 7 consecutive AFC championship game. And we're going to stay on the AFC side, E. You know, it's the game that, as everybody would say, man, get your popcorn ready, man. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This game was played in Baltimore. And boy, was this a classic game. As the Bills was able to win this football game 27-25. We had the whole situation, you know, just with the turnovers overall from Baltimore, with Andrews with a fumble, Andrews dropping a 2-point conversion. You know, a lot of people, you know, throwing a little dirt out there, you know, on your boy Lamar. What was your thoughts, man, and what you saw, man, in that Bills-Ravens clip, man?
First and foremost, that was most likely, I'll say, the best game of the week. In my eyes, you know, it was just 2 powerhouses, 2 contenders, 2 true contenders. It was an excellent game. Now I will say, Baltimore, you know, there was a lot of there was a lot of uncharacteristic things that was transpiring with them as far as you know, the turnovers. Like you never really see. I don't even think Lamar Jackson had 2 turnovers all year. You know, so that was something that was a little odd and different. And just the situation with Mark Andrews, man. I mean, he dropped 2, like you said, he dropped 2 passes, had the fumble, so he had a terrible game. He was productive, but he had a terrible game as far as when it counted. And for some reason, it just seems like Baltimore, when things count, they're now starting to be being labeled as cannot get over that hump when it really counts. You know, so they got a lot of soul searching to do. I heard even people coming for Harbaugh's head. I don't believe in all of that. I think it was a situation that was bad, terrible circumstances, and despite all the turnovers that they did make, I mean, they were still in the game, you know. And Lamar Jackson still drove them down the field, had an opportunity to win the game. If it wasn't for that drop pass, it would have been a whole other story. Shipping over to Buffalo, though. I mean, what can you say about these guys? They lost Stephon Diggs. They lost Gabe Davis. Mm-hmm. I mean, they lost a lot of key players last year, and everybody counted them out at the beginning of the year. So I gotta give credit where credit is due. Everybody's saying that, you know, Lamar Jackson could get the 3rd MVP, but no, it's definitely their boy over there, Josh Allen, as the MVP, just based on he didn't even have any names, no high-end name players on his team. And for him to carry that team the way he has done this year and the poise that he has showed this year, he didn't go out there trying to go for 300 yards or this and that. They had a game plan. Do not turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. Let them have more turnovers than what we have. Play the game the right way, and we should have the outcome should be, hey, we're going to Kansas City. And that's what they did. I got so much love for Josh Allen and that Buffalo Bills squad. I feel like this is their time. Like I was saying before, I had them beating Baltimore anyway because they were at home, and I feel like that was the main thing that was going to be the difference of this game. So it did happen. It was a squeak by, but at the end of the day, this is the team that's forced to be reckoned with, and I'm happy. It just feels good to see this matchup next week of us, the Thriller of Manila type of situation. So I'm looking forward to that, man. Kudos to the Buffalo Bills, man. They did their thing.
Yeah, man, and like you said, at the end of the day, especially on the AFC side, man, it's just the talent and the quarterbacks just as a whole in the AFC. And, these are heavyweight fights when you get into the playoffs now, especially when you got young quarterbacks, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, like C.J. Stroud kind of coming into the fold. I mean, you think about it. Joe Burrow, who's played in the regular season probably better than everybody that's not even in the playoffs. So in the AFC, man, when you get in the playoffs, fam, it's straight up a heavyweight championship fight every single time. I think the most interesting thing about Josh Allen in this football game is he didn't even throw for 300 yards. I don't even think he had 200 yards. I mean, he just, one, didn't turn the football over, and two, he just made the plays when they needed to make. And you know who he reminds me of, man? Like in a crazy kind of way. He reminds me of Tim Tebow when he was at Florida. Every time it's a 3rd and 3, bro, it's a 4th and 2, he getting the first down, just every single time. And so I just thought that just the momentum and just that desire that he played with, he put the cape on again. But, they moved forward. Good job on the ground also, too, by James Cook. I think he did a good job, especially moving the chains for Buffalo. And so they move on again to the AFC Championship game. They take on the Kansas City Chiefs. They 7 consecutive appearances in the AFC Championship game. As you already labeled it as the Thriller in Manila, I definitely think it's going to be that. And we gonna shift gears to the NFC side. And we had a team coming in that had to buy the Detroit Lions. Detroit stand up. Dan Campbell and company. They welcome in the Washington Commanders up in Detroit. And they got DDT. Man, I think the Washington Commanders, I think they still scoring in this football game. I think they still running up the clock on them as they was able to win this football game 45-31. The Lions season come to an end. We just mentioned, last episode with Ben Johnson being hired as the Chicago Bears head coach. Looks like Aaron Glenn is going to be on to the New York Jets, just in regards. But Jaden Daniels, again, man, this rookie has been outstanding. He's definitely not playing like a rookie right now. What was your thoughts, man, on this Commanders and Lions tilt, man?
Man, what a game. A lot of offense, no defense. This whole it was looking like, I'm not going to say really with the Washington Commanders, they had a little bit of defense. I mean, you're going to get scored on against Detroit. I mean, they're a powerhouse. But just to see, I'm just excited, man, for the Commanders, man. Kudos to the Commanders, man. They haven't been in this position since 1991. And the guy that was, the captain of the ship at that given time was the only man, the first black quarterback ever to do it, and win a Super Bowl, Doug Williams. So shout out to that right there, man, just to see how this team turned around. They turned around from one player only. We're talking about Jaden Daniels, man. Jaden Daniels, he just showed up and showed out. The poise that this young man is bringing to the table his first year, I mean, it's unexplainable. I mean, now we saw C.J. Stroud last year, but even C.J. Stroud wasn't doing what this guy is doing. I mean, you just see how calm he is, cool and collected, and he just knows exactly where everybody is at. He's a major threat for so many years to come. And man, this guy, he like he want it now. Like he's not trying to wait. Like he don't care that he a rookie. He like, I'm trying to win this Super Bowl this year. So I'm loving what I'm seeing with the Commanders, man. They so balanced on offense, defense, special teams. They got a lot of no-name guys out there on offense. They got a complimentary running game. It's plus with Jaden Daniels. I mean, they just showed Detroit that, man, don't take everything for granted. You thinking because, y'all 15-2, that y'all was just going to come in and lay down, And that was not the case at all. I mean, granted, I don't know what's going on with your boy. Their
Goff?
quarterback. Yeah, Jared Goff. But it seems like when it comes down to it, he's similar to like what Lamar Jackson does on the other side. When it comes down to these main games, this guy tends to just fold and do uncharacteristic things, that he was not doing in the regular season. Like the stage was just too much for him. For whatever reason it was, so kudos to Washington for having that crazy game plan. Shout out to Dan Quinn. Shout out to Cliff Kingsbury. They kind of redeemed themselves from the situations they was in. Previous years as a head coach. It looked like they had a good 1-2 punch as far as running this ship. And Jaden Daniels is the general, the guy that's actually doing it 110% of what they're looking for. So it's gonna be a crazy, interesting thing. But I gotta give my shouts out to the Commanders, man, because they did that thing against the number 1 seed team. And it seemed like they're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, man, and just a whole new swag in Washington. You got a head coach and Dan Quinn, like you say, he on a redemption tour. Cliff Kingsbury on a redemption tour. You got new ownership in Josh Harris, and you brought in Magic Johnson in that group. And so I just think that, for Washington, man, the sky's the limit for them. A lot of people say, man, can this team win? Can this team get to the Super Bowl? Absolutely they can. Just based on the fact they hotter than a firecracker right now, and they got a belief in they building like no other. So, again, congratulations to the Commanders. For the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell, man, it's bitter and sweet. He got emotional in the post-game presser. This guy, he eats nails for breakfast, man. And so I was kind of sad for him, man, because, they had a shot last year to get to the Super Bowl and fell up short against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. This year they fall in the divisional round. We'll see what Detroit do moving forward. And then we had the final game we'll go over, which is the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Los Angeles Rams, as the Eagles able to win this game 28-22. Man, it's just 2 words for this game. Saquon Barkley. 200 yards on the ground, man. This guy looked like he was playing backyard football in the snow, especially in the second half. Jalen Hurts, he didn't look like Jalen Hurts, but sometimes, man, you do just enough, man, to get that victory. Didn't turn the ball over. You got a little nicked up in this football game. I just think from the Rams standpoint, Kyle Williams with the fumble and just kind of the turnovers from the Rams, it kind of hindered them going into the snow in Philadelphia. But what was your thoughts, man, on that Eagles and Rams clip, man?
Man, I feel like Saquon Barkley, it's like Michael Jordan yesterday, man. Not only did I don't even think he was playing against the Rams. I think he was playing against his own team, but just sitting them out for that last game for not breaking that record. So he took it upon himself to just show them like he's playing like he's upset right now. So whatever reason it is, but the guy's running crazy. He was unstoppable, man. Like they were stopping on first and second down or whatever the case is. Then he get a breakthrough. You can't stop him once you get that breakthrough. Hey, Philly, man, is a team to be reckoned with. I still feel like they got a lot of issues though that's suspect. They kind of remind me of they playing kind of like how Kansas City is playing in the AFC. It don't look pretty, but they know what to do to win. They not making mistakes out here, But I gotta show love to the Rams too. As at the same time, they put up a fight. They definitely put up a fight in this game. They was there the whole time with them. They had a lot of opportunities to steal this game, even at the end of the game. It was at the 14-yard line with about a minute left, and then here comes your boy, man. I gotta show him some love too, because it wasn't just Saquon Barkley. I gotta show love my man on the defensive end, the young guy that the Bears should have took, but we didn't take.
Oh yeah,
we ended up taking Donnell Wright. What's your name? Help me out.
Oh, Jalen, I got you. Jalen Carter, University of Georgia. Supposed to have been the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, man. He should have been the first pick in that draft, but he had a whole situation with the cars up here, down in my neck of the woods, up by Athens, man. And just, he's a guy that the Bears passed on due to character reasons. And this guy's been playing outstanding all season long, man. And he showed himself in that football game, no doubt.
Yeah, and that was the main reason why they kind of won that game, because despite what Saquon Barkley was winning that whole game, it seemed like the Rams was not going anywhere. They was handling the passing game. It's just that they was getting ran over. I didn't understand how they kept letting these big running plays happen, whether it was Saquon Barkley or the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? They just kept on letting that situation happen. But kudos to Carter because he was the one that actually finished the game at the end of the day. You can't let this. You got to double team this guy. You can't let him get to you. That's why they going home. The Rams going home because Carter just wrecked everything. They wasn't defending him the way but they supposed to defend him. And it was a sad situation because I was rooting for the Rams just based on everything they've been going through, you know, with the wildfires and all of that type of stuff. So I feel like this is their year to like kind of had like that redeemed type of situation. But nevertheless, Saquon Barkley and Carter shut that down.
Yeah, man, and like I said, Sean McVay, I think he's the best coach in the NFC. But this year, you know, that team had a lot of injuries, man, you know, dealing with a lot of stuff off the field, you know, with the California wildfires and just that whole deal, just in regards. So I could be proud of what the Rams did so far this season. Coming into this year, I said the Rams wouldn't make the playoffs. And so Sean McVay showed his worth again for the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni. They move on back to the NFC Championship game, their second appearance in the last 3 seasons, as they take on the Washington Commanders in the NFC East matchup. Both these teams played twice early this year. 1-1 on that end, 1 win for the Eagles, 1 win for the Commanders. So we'll see what that do. And man, we got a NFC and an AFC Conference Championship game set. First and foremost, bro, I appreciate you falling through once again. And as I mentioned earlier, man, you can catch my man E. Salim, Mr. Taylor Street, him and Mac on Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast on YouTube and Spreaker, Firebox 2300 on YouTube. Coming up, the rest of the show, We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. Once again, man, I appreciate you guys checking out episode number 22, season number 4 on We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. And man, we had an interesting midweek so far. You know, Ohio State, congratulations to them once again for winning the college football playoff and another national championship for them. Their first national championship since 2014. Also, too, I want to thank my guest E for falling through from the Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast. You know, definitely came through and provided some insight in the NFL playoffs. You can catch him on YouTube at Firebox 2300. Also, too, on Spreaker. And don't forget to check your boy out, man. We on YouTube, man. We got the YouTube channel going down at We on Fire Sports. Also, too, we on X, formerly known as Twitter, at We on Fire Sports. Also, too, on Facebook, man. So I appreciate, man, your ear. I appreciate if you're first time checking in for checking us out. If you're an OG of the show, I appreciate the fall through once again. We on Fire Sports Podcast, The